congratulations.
Thank you.
Best Actress Award.
Thank you.
New York Film Critics.
Yeah.
When you hear Best Actress, Lady Gaga, what goes through your head? It's
super emotional, and I could not believe that I won the New York Film Critics Best Actress Award. I was so honored. I feel really grateful. I think maybe because I'm from New York and because I went to the Lee Strasberg Institute to study acting, and I went to Circle in the Square, the conservatory. I don't know that I always get to still talk about what it's like for dreams to come true. I'm 35 now, and I still feel like my dreams are coming true.
And the dreams never stop. That's I mean, at least for me, I pinch myself every day. How often do you say that to yourself? Like, I deserve this.
I think I always end up saying I deserve this, meaning I deserve to be here because I work really hard and I do the work and I study and I do my homework. I am very close with my director. I'm very close with all the artists that I work with, the actors, musicians, producers, and I think that you can know that you are deserving of something when you put the time in. Otherwise, I don't know that anyone deserves anything. And we, in a lot of ways, we're privileged or we're blessed to have what we have. But in the art world, you have to do your work for it to be deserving. And I truly believe that. I don't think I could ever feel like I deserve anything that was just handed to me.
Take me back to those days studying New York. Tell me about one of your first auditions you went on that you will never forget.
I did it was like a Lens Crafters commercial audition, and I was a very emotional child, and I was very depressed. And I think that being in a room with cameras and lights like we are right now was something that was so foreign to me that even though I had studied acting, I studied, in a theater. And I didn't take film and television classes. I took theater classes. So once I was in auditions and there was cameras and there was lights, I really froze in almost some type of traumatic way where I couldn't remember my lines. I couldn't remember what actions I was supposed to do. I remember now I was supposed to say something about how I was having trouble seeing, and then put my glasses on and then have them fall off my face as a sort of a nerdy reflex. And I couldn't do it, and I couldn't do it because I was too nervous. And someone said something to me during the audition, and they said, the glasses are supposed to fall off at that part. And then I tried it again, but I did it in the wrong spot, and literally nothing went together. And I think it just took me some time to really understand that when you're acting and when you're working, you are in control of what happens, and that there's so much about it is not performing. So much about it is listening and being present.
You studied theater. When are we going to see you on Broadway?
I don't know, maybe when I write my first musical.
Is that what it would take?
I just think that there's so many amazing musicals, but I love writing music, and I love musical theater, and I know a lot about musical theater, and I know a lot about music, so I think I would really enjoy the process of creating a musical, and I've thought about it for a really long time, probably mostly because I admire Elton so much, and I admire The Lion King so much, and I view that as a musical that he wrote, and also, I think that an acting teacher many years ago said something to me about singing, meaning in theater, and I thought it was really fascinating. I asked them what the difference was between singing a song in life and singing a song in theater, and what the difference was between theater and musical theater. And I thought they had this great answer, and the answer was, in musical theater, the actors and the characters sing because what they're saying to each other can simply not be said unless they burst into song. That you can't convey what you're trying to say unless there's music. And I thought that was such a beautiful way of describing it. And I thought, what if I wrote essentially a play where throughout the play everyone broke out into song because they had to, because they couldn't say what they were trying to say unless there was music.
And that's you as a singer, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
what
my
it
life.
is, right? I was just going to say, you're describing your success.
Yeah, that's my life. Life is music for me.
What are your other favorite musicals?
Oh my gosh, I love Godspell. I love like all of Stephen Sondheim's musicals. I love Guys and Dolls. I love Frank Loesser's work. I could go on and on.
Listen, I'm a New York gay Jew.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about Broadway musicals.
Yeah, and I just recently saw Tick, Tick, Boom, which, I mean, amazing. And, I'm so excited for West Side Story. It's just so exciting. It's beautiful, and I have to say that I really truly feel honored to be in the company of all these great films and all these amazing actors and cinema, and this is just the beginning, and I'm excited to continue to do the work. That I feel blessed that I get to.
So let's talk about the film. It's dark. You stayed in character. How do you not take that darkness home with you after work?
Well, unfortunately, Mark, I do. Yeah, I do. And I have a really hard time with that. And I've actually recently gotten to talk with some other actors that don't do that. And I have gotten excited about learning how to be more nimble in that way. But I think also because it was a red zone in Italy, going from set to your hotel room and already just choosing not to break character and then also not having, contact with the outside world, it kind of, it's sort of set up for you to stay in it. Right. But for what it's worth, I was the same way for A Star Is Born. I was always Allie. And for this, I was always Patricia. I always spoke in my accent, and even if I was speaking about things that weren't related to the movie, like I wasn't pretending that, Maurizio was waiting for me downstairs. I was still like living my life. I lived it as her, and I brought the darkness with me home because her life was dark, and not all of it. So there would be different days. If I shot scenes all day where she was younger, I wouldn't bring as much darkness home. But when I shot scenes, like the scene with Jack Houston at the school with Domenico del Sole, like that was hugely traumatizing for her, and so hugely traumatizing for me, and I took it home. But I will say, one of the most beautiful experiences I had with the darkest scene that I shot with Ridley was the scene where she's like holding herself down in the bathtub. And I remember that I stayed down there as long as I could, and when I came up for air, I remember thinking to myself, I want to live. And in the scene, she's asking herself, if she wants to or not, and she's trying to kill herself. But it's shot in this really beautiful way where you kind of don't know exactly what's happening. But I knew, like, my intention as the actress was for her to ask herself that question when she went under. But when I came up, I said, I want to live. So I guess there's a duality that I'm trying to express to you, that there's this darkness that you might take home with you, and also you might have a beautiful self-discovery on set that no matter how dark life gets, you just know that you want to live life.
Do you call your therapist on a day after like that when you're in your hotel room going, I need to talk to someone? Because exactly what you're saying, you're in a red zone. You're, not you're quarantining because you're just going back to a hotel room. You're probably not surrounded by as many people as you usually are. What do you do when you're with yourself in those moments?
Well, if I'm being honest, I had a psychiatric nurse with me towards the end of filming. So I did call people that I work with for a period of time, and then I needed someone on set, and I'm really grateful that they were there.
Who came up with that idea?
I sort of felt like I had to. I felt that it was safer for me, and and I really wish to not glorify that in any way.
No, of course, yeah.
And I don't think that like any actor should push themselves to that limit. And I ask myself all the time why I do that. I've done some pretty extreme art pieces throughout my career. The things I've put my body through, my mind through. And I can feel like this, like, it's like a walnut of sadness in my stomach as I say this to you. I don't know why I'm like that, Mark. I think that the best answer I could give you is that I have a sort of romantic relationship with suffering for your art that I developed as a young girl. And it just sometimes goes too far. And when it does go too far, it can be hard to reel it in on your own. Yeah. And I think it's okay to ask for help. So if I'm living true to my values, I would say, yes, that's the truth of my experience. And also, if you're feeling like that, ask for help. No matter what, whether you're on a movie set or you're in school.
When you look at your next projects, I mean, there's been nothing announced, but do you say, you know what, I gotta be careful next time, or I don't want to do that again, or you get a performance that is so authentic and so raw, do you feel like, you know what, I'm gonna have to go there. That's the way, that's my art.
I'm not sure yet. I mean, my goal would be able to go there and drop it faster. It's not a secret that I'll do anything for art. I think I probably will completely change this when I have a child. But I don't have a child yet.
Why do you say that?
I want to be available and present for my children in a way that I think when you are acting in that way, it could be problematic for a child to be around. And so I think I'd want to really protect my kid. I guess what I'm trying to say is I often say this to myself and it doesn't work, but I often ask myself to protect my inner child while I'm working so that I am not harmful to myself. So I actually have to imagine that I have a child in order to consider being a healthier artist. But I believe it's possible. But yeah, I mean, one of the greatest performances I think I ever gave, most people haven't even seen, but it was in the Louvre, and it was a Robert Wilson work that we did together, and I hung upside down for 45 minutes in bondage, and it was in honor of Alexander McQueen, and it was done on Halloween. And it was
and at midnight too, and it's skull.
Exactly.
I mean,
it was serious and it was real, and I really went there. And also, I don't encourage anyone to do that. And also, that's part of my existential crisis as an artist, is that I felt compelled to do it and to walk into the Louvre and see yourself not as a painting, which is how we did the other work. Like I posed as the death of Marat for Robert Wilson, also, but to see yourself, it's an achievement as an artist that I think that very few people in their lifetime ever get to experience, to be in the Louvre, and also it comes at a huge price. And there are some things I haven't done. I have to. Klaus, he's been an art curator for so many years and is a dear friend of mine. Like, I remember him telling me about some performance art piece that I wanted to do. He just said, you can't do that. And it was in an effort to protect me, and he was so close with Marina Abramovich, and so I think that there's a balance, right? It's like I think I'm becoming more and more aware of myself, but I do think I was able to give a really authentic performance because I committed to it, and but I think commitment can come in many different forms, and I really wish not to glorify it, because I wish for people to be safe and to care about their mental health.
So when are you going to do a rom-com?
Are we doing one right now? A romantic comedy. You know what? As soon as we finished this movie, my manager Bobby was like, "So, romantic comedy." You know what? for what it's worth, House of Gucci is still really funny, and so
you're pushing it.
But there's some moments that are funny, and yeah, I mean, funny for us, for this crazy family. I'd love to do a romantic comedy. I want to, obviously, great script, great director, something that I believe in. But this was really special, this project. And I can't say enough about Ridley Scott. He's such an amazing director. You know, Jared was saying this today, and it's really true. He's really an actor's director, and it's because you know that when you're doing a scene, you don't have to even think about it. You're being captured while the other actor's being captured. It's all around you. So you're not waiting your turn. You're not in, and even when that's happening, you know, I always, on American Horror Story, no matter what, I was fully in. If the camera wasn't on me, I wanted to give my fellow actor absolutely everything. But it was an incredible experience, and I got to work with Jeremy Irons and Al Pacino and Adam Driver and Salma Hayek, and it was amazing. And I think when you have reverence for what you're doing and you feel grateful, you do the work and you get to make something special. And I'm so happy people want to go see it and that they're still going. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? It's like getting people to like rally and to celebrate cinema, to celebrate art, and for me, it's about building community. And I think after, you know, and we're still in COVID very much, but, you know, rebuilding community is so important when we've been so separated.
Would you ever do a superhero movie?
A superhero movie? I might, yeah. I it's really hard for me to say that I like wouldn't do something. Right. I think mostly I'm not interested in doing things that don't ultimately have something meaningful to say. And I did House of Gucci because I thought that Patrizia Reggiani as a character had something to say, and that there was something in the script that was really valuable for women, and I care about women.
When does your team know to show you a script that they've read? Because I'm sure they just come nonstop. You can't read them all. You have to have people filter through them. How do they know when, you know what, this is one you should read?
You know, I have a really strong artistic collective around me, and while I have amazing, you know, agents and an amazing manager, I can also say about my amazing agents and amazing manager that they're also my friends. And so I would describe it sort of as a meeting of the minds, and that there's scripts and conversations and directors talking to people that I love, and then me talking to them, and it's just sort of this organic process. And then somebody eventually goes, I think you might like this one, and I go, okay, and I take it, and then I read it, and then I might meet with the director and talk about it. And I'm very much an artist. I can meet with a director about a movie that they may or may not want me in, or that I'm not maybe even sure about yet, and I'm really just excited to talk about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to just engage in conversation about art and what somebody's trying to say, what I'm interested in saying. And meeting Ridley, you know, what was so awesome was I was already excited about the movie, and then he said she really loved him. And when he said that, I knew he was going to make a movie that was about much more than a woman that snapped over money. And that's not what happened. And you've seen the film.
Yeah, and she loved him. Listen, not everyone goes to the extreme that she went to, obviously.
No.
But we've all been in that place where you love and it hurts, but you still want to be around that person, or you still think for some reason it could work when everything around you is telling you it's not working.
I think that that's what made her story different and what I found fascinating was that the line was thin between like her humanity and any other woman's humanity, meaning any other woman might have felt like her, but she committed a murder. And that I didn't want there to be that big of a difference between her and any other woman, because I don't believe there was that big of a difference. I just think she did it, and most women don't.
And we can't be surprised that the family's not happy with it. They don't want to see this trauma.
Of course not. Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine how painful this must be, and it's why I tried to put something important into the role, and I also believe it to be the truth. So for what it's worth, I care about people, and I would never have been a part of a real story about someone that was just a terrible person.
Does it add to that intensity, like we said about going dark, knowing that it was a real person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wondered all the time when I was in Italy if she was going to show up. I mean, she's out of jail. I mean, right. there was like a safety element. I don't trust her. I don't think she's a good person. But I had to love her, to play her, and I had to discover her as a child. And when you discover the child in somebody that becomes a monster, it's complicated, because how could you not love a child that has done nothing wrong? Meaning, she didn't kill Maurizio when she was, 23. And I believe now that, she's somewhere living with deep, deep regret. And I don't think I played her in the way she would have wanted me to. And that's okay.
Was there a scene that didn't make it in the final cut that you wished did?
Yeah, there was.
What was that scene?
In real life, Patrizia had a brain tumor, and it was rumored that Maurizio never went to visit her, and that the family didn't go visit her. So she was alone, and so it just, for me, was sort of more, it provided more color and motive behind why the murder happened. But for what it's worth, I think it says a lot about Ridley as a director, that he didn't need that scene to be in there for you to understand why this happened. Meaning, I think that he allowed the horror of systemic patriarchy to be something that could live on its own without that piece. But yeah, that scene.
Did you shoot the scene, or it just?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga, this is great. God, I could keep going on and on.
I know.
I mean, this is
well, we
wonderful.
always have a nice time when we talk to each other.
We really do.